We're here at the club at the Ivy at an editorial intelligence event, getting reactions to the general election in the UK. I'm joined by Zimmermann, who is the ambassador for the Republic of Austria. What's your reaction? What's your feeling, and what are your compatriots' feelings about a British election like this? Do you feel that things can now move forward, that a decision has been taken and the work can get moving?
I think many politicians and many analysts in Europe will be relieved in a way to have a clear result of the British election and to be able to negotiate with a government that has a good parliamentary majority, and that's at least the basis to work on.
And how many people from Austria do you have here in the UK that will be affected by these changes? We've done work with the Swiss Embassy and others communicating. Is there a substantial population of Austrians working in the UK?
There's about 30,000 Austrians in the UK, which is less than other countries. But I think people are not worried that much because they are EU citizens, and the EU Commission will negotiate their rights. Plus, we have the impression that the British government is dealing the Europeans living here fair, and I think that the good cooperation with the government will continue in future. We do have incidents of people leaving, not because they're forced to, but because they are worried about their chances in the future here in the UK. For example, researchers who are worried about the grants they might get or not get in future, and they probably move on to other places where the funding is guaranteed.
Yeah. Now, in Britain we can be very insular, and we've had this 3-year period when we've just talked about nothing else but Brexit. I remember once flying to the south of France. I picked up a copy of the Financial Times in London, and that Financial Times had 2 or 3 pages on Brexit for the British audience. When I picked up another one on the same day in France, it only had a paragraph. We are a bit self-obsessed, but there are very big issues running across the whole of Europe at the moment, which the UK is not going to be able to avoid. Climate change is an obvious one, but other big structural and economic changes. What would you flag up as with a new Commission in Brussels, what would you flag up as the big issues that Europe's going to be looking at?
Yeah, well, definitely, as you mentioned, climate change. But I think UK politicians are very clear about their commitment to do something about climate change. But there is other worrying tendencies around the globe: trade wars, trade restrictions, power politics in the Far East, and I think we would have very much liked to have the UK within the European Union to give the European voice more weight, and maybe it would also be easier for the UK to deal with other governments, knowing that the EU is behind the UK, but that will not be the case in future.
Now, you've been ambassador for about 1.5 years, but you have lived here before. What do you find is one of the best sources that helps you understand the way that the British think?
I think basically the only source is British humour, and I grew up with watching Yes Minister and Blackadder, and I am watching British comedians and British TV series now, and I must say that that's the real approach. Don't take yourself too seriously, don't take your circumstances too seriously.
Well, hopefully things will move forward over the coming year. Ambassador, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.